2, how to start a data quality management program. And this is a three-part series. Today I'm focusing on the people component. So let me kind of go through all of this. At EW Solutions, we've been doing data management, data governance, metadata management, and data quality programs since 1997. We have won basically any award you can name in this area. So my job is to bring you the best practices. What are organizations doing today? And I split my time between both the commercial world and the federal world. So I think I'm going to be bringing you lots of examples from both today, which is going to be fun. This is my background. I will not go through all of this, but I think what the key thing is that you'll see listed is my email address. If you have a question about your data quality program or your AI governance program, let me know, shoot me an email. I'll be happy to give you some sage advice on it. I've been doing this stuff a long time. I've done over 30 data management programs, soup to nuts, enterprise level, and I've done over 3 data quality programs, soup to nuts, and I'm doing one right now. With that, what are we going to talk about? Well, today is the people part of data quality. I'm going to focus on 4 key areas. The importance of integrating data quality into your data governance team. And I'm going to give you data quality metrics and KPIs, key performance indicators. For most people, you've not done a data quality program before. So defining KPIs seems daunting. Guess what? I got a slide full of them. Examples of the common ones that I use all the time. I'm using some right now at a client partner. Third thing, how to identify our data quality stakeholders. That is so important because if you do that wrong, that can lead to big problems with your data quality program. And last, but certainly not least, how to define data ownership. This is a question I've had so many client partners grapple with. So I want to give you some, again, some advice of what I've done. Then in September, mark this date down. By the way, if you're not a subscriber to Data Management University, what are you doing? Go to datamanagementu.com, free subscription. If it's free, it's me. And you will hear about all the webinars that we're doing. Also, if you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll get notice to all this stuff too. And then I'm going to wrap it up in October where I'm going to focus on the technology pieces of data quality. So, and that's a big deal. Tech is critical. Too many data management professionals focus on people and process, which are great and they are vital, but we need the tech too. They all work together. So, what am I going to talk about today? Number 1, it's our first in this series. I'm going to go through the basics of data quality management. Number 2, I'm going to share with you the most important rule in data quality, the 1-10-100 rule. This is the rule that governs what I do as a professional in data quality. And then we're going to focus on the people part. And then I'm going to give you a little bit of a deeper dive into people, just some best practices. Again, I'm working with the client, a massive federal agency in this area right now. So I'm going to share with you again more little secrets that I've learned over the years on the people part of this. That's so important. Anyway, data quality management. Let's look at the fundamentals. Fundamentals. So number 1, I am not going to read this definition, thankfully, because there's a lot to it. But data quality management is ensuring that the data that you're using to make mission critical decisions or business decisions is fit for purpose and fit for consumption. And there's a lot of components that go into this. In our next webinar on process, I will go through the 10 dimensions of data quality. Some of you are saying, wait a minute, Dr. Marco, there's not 10. I thought there were 8. Well, for about 30 years there was, but now there's more because the landscape has changed. So anyway, make sure you tune in for that because we need that rubric for measuring it. And again, the big thing with data quality management is that everything is fit for consumption. That's just vital because if it's not fit for consumption, then we have a problem. Um, because when you talk about building generative AI, which let's be a little bit more realistic. Jack and I were having a conversation, if you will, before the webinar started. He's doing AI governance, as am I right now. And when you really look at the commercial, and he's doing it at a commercial organization, when people are doing generative AI, they're really not. They're basically building wrappers for ChatGPT. That's what the overwhelming majority of companies and agencies are doing. So, oh, and by the way, if I say something interesting or fun, hit it that emoji, share it because that's fun. I don't get to see your lovely smiling faces. Thank you. Whoever gave that heart emoji, you are the first one in this webinar series. So you have a special place in my heart. It helps me interact with you guys. Thank you. First clap emoji too. Anyone, if you give the first, you're the first. There you go. So these AI models fail miserably if you don't have quality data. And I will tell you, when we go through the dimensions, having security on that data, knowing if something is PII, personally identifiable information, PHI, personal health information, if you're in a federal agency, if something's top secret or secret, these are critical because when that stuff goes into your AI model, there are regulations around it. And I will do a whole webinar only on AI regulations and barely scratch the surface. So there's an old saying that all of us learned as uh, IT professionals. If that's how I started. I was an IT guy. Garbage in, garbage out. I don't care what you're doing with your model. I'm sure it's beautiful. But if we're putting bad data in low quality, the result will be low quality. Thank you for the thumbs. It's a fact. And no matter what we do, nothing gets us around that. There is no magic bullet that solves it. We need great data quality. All right, let me continue. I could pontificate on that for a long time, but I have a lot to talk about. And then make sure when you have questions, put them in the Q&A area, and Elizabeth will be tracking all those. She's going to bring me the best ones. Anyway, if you work on a data governance program, you are probably involved in data quality management. There are very few data governance programs that don't have some data quality component. I've mentioned I've worked on 30 enterprise data governance programs. In almost all of them, we have some component of data quality, but a lot of times it's very targeted. Where enterprise-wide is a different animal, and that's the animal I'm going to look at today. And then, key thing here, and this will put you ahead of over half the data quality management professionals in the field. This last bullet alone. Anytime you're doing data management, metadata management is the technical backbone of it. Metadata management gives you the who, what, when, where, how, and why of your data. And without that, you can't do data quality. Without the who, what, when, where, how, and why, you just can't be successful. So you need great metadata management. The third webinar is going to talk about technology. That's where we incorporate it because you need tech to do this stuff. Anyway, I shared with you how important the 110-100 data quality rule is. This is something that dates back to 1992. And to me, this rule is my guiding force when it comes to data quality. And I think it is the most important. Let me explain it to you. It says that if you have a data quality issue that happens at in its source application, so let's say you're creating a customer ID or a product number, wherever you do that, if it's a product number, probably in your ERP system or in your product development system, wherever you do that, if you do it incorrectly, if you do it with poor quality data, if you want to fix it in that application, it'll cost, let's say, $1 because this is an order of magnitude rule. So to fix it at its source, $1. If you let that data quality error persist throughout your organization, and now you want to try to fix it throughout, it's going to cost you $10 for the same issue to fix. And probably these should be in the millions, right? That's what it's really like. However, when that data quality error goes outside of your buildings, when it goes to your customers or your constituents, the cost of that same error that you could have fixed for $1, now the impact to your organization is $100. And I'll share with you a story. I won't give their name. They are a manufacturing company. They make very beautiful high-end accessories for women. Stunning. All the ladies in our audience would know who they are, and probably most of the gentlemen would as well. And they had this problem. They were building their customer-facing website from 8 spreadsheets. You heard that right. Taking 8 spreadsheets, running it through some cockamamie integration, and putting it out on a customer-facing website. Oh, goodness. One of the lines that came from their chief marketing officer when I spoke to him, he said, our customers know more about the status of our products than our sales reps. No shock. You look at their revenues and their profit margin, both are tumbling over the last 5 years. And that is the death combination. When your profits are going down and your margins are going down. That's the worst of both worlds. So why? It all stemmed back to the data quality errors. They're letting their customers see it, and that erodes their brand, erodes their trust. So here's what I want you to remember. If you're doing data quality, you need to print this, put it up in your office, fix data quality problems at their source. If you're not, if you're trying to do it downstream, you're basically putting your fingers in holes of a boat that's sinking, and eventually you'll run out of fingers. All right, learning point. Sometimes fixing data quality errors at their source can be a challenge, especially, I don't know if we have anybody from the federal sector. I'm sure we do, because I know a lot of folks there at this webinar. You guys have it 3 times harder than the commercial folks. Because in the commercial world, normally if we're working with the CDO or the CIO or the COO or CFO, whoever it is who's the sponsor of it, they have authority over those systems. In the federal space, many times we don't. Mostly a vendor owns that system and they're maintaining it, and they have a separate contract through procurement that the group that we're working with won't have authority over. So it can really be a challenge to get them to change. So how do you deal with that? So for the federal folks, but also for the folks in the commercial side who still have a challenge with this, here's some little tricks that I've incorporated over the years. So number one, anytime data quality or the lack thereof is causing problems, document them. Because these pain points, these real world situations are vital. I'll give you 2 quick examples. I'm probably doing too many examples, so let me fire through them. Number one, I think back to a financial services firm, Fortune 300. So this is not a tiny company. They had a data quality issue that if it would have went outside of their doors, remember 110, 100, they're at the 10, they're about to go to 100, although this would have been 1,000. If the data quality error left their building, it was caught by just heroic effort by a data steward. Just somebody going above and beyond their job, caught it, it didn't go out. If it would have went out, they would have been in violation of an SEC, the Security and Exchange Committee law in the United States. They would have been on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, and not in a good way, in a bad way. I think it was estimated that that negative publicity would have cost them 17% of their market cap. You're talking about $1 billion if that went out, because we didn't have good data quality. That was the problem. And I have a federal client right now where different situations really happened in achieving the mission, and we documented how if we had better data quality, these problems would not have happened. So these pain points are powerful. Number two, you want to convince people that data quality is critical. We need to get into the source system. We need to fix it. Leverage various regulations. GDPR to General Data Protection Regulation. All of Europe requires this. It's vital for protecting PII. Leverage those things. Most of my client partners are international companies. In fact, almost all of them are. So GDPR is big. NIST, their RMF framework. NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, RMF, Risk Management Framework. It's all about AI. It's all about it. And it's about managing risk and reducing it and controlling it. I will have a whole webinar on this topic when we go into AI governance. If you go to my LinkedIn and you search, I'll probably reissue it at some point. I actually did a 4-minute little video on it. But I will be doing a whole 1 hour webinar on this topic. It's so big. Um, Number three, lots of education, lunch and learns, meeting with people, hearing them. A lot of times the biggest barrier for these application teams in accepting the task of fixing their data quality is knowing you're a partner with them, knowing that you're going to be with them every step of the way, and that you're going to help them achieve great data quality, and that they're not alone. It's something we will do together. If you're in the federal world, centers of excellence are a popular concept and one you see utilized often. So remember, when you're trying to fix data quality issues, you're going to have to develop a good strategy for communicating these data issues and really lots of communication. So these are just some help getting the authority to fix the data in the source system. All right. How to start a data quality program. I have 4 things to go through, and I have 35 minutes, maybe a little less because I need time for questions. Not a problem. I can do it. So, number one, I do not want my data quality team operating separately from my data governance team. That is a recipe for failure. There is a great deal of overlap between a data quality management program and a data governance one. This slide is one I've used many times, and it just shows you everything in I don't know what you'd call that, kind of like a dull pink, and then we have a baby blue. It feels like we're designing a room for children. The pink represents classic tasks you do in data governance, and the blue is classic tasks for data quality. And you see in the middle how much overlap there is, just tons. So what I wanted, and keep in mind, there are many precursor tasks that you need to have happen before a data quality program can start fixing errors. Don't make the mistake of saying, hey, we started a data quality program. Let's just start fixing errors. Can't do it that way. That's not how it works. The first task you have to do, and I'll go over this more in this presentation, but defining your business terms. A business term is nothing more than a prose way of describing a business component. So, for example, customer type is a business term for many organizations. Product type, loan type. Sorry to always use type. There are others. Address, bill to, sell to, ship to. Those are all business terms. So we need to first define those precisely. And number two, so when I said define precisely, a valid definition complete. Number two, we need to put in valid values where applicable. If we have 10 types of customers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, guess what? We need to have that defined precisely in what each one of them means. If not, how are you going to have a rubric to defining your data quality? You can't. Keep in mind, most of what I've just talked about are things data stewards do all the time. So, learning point. I want my data quality program to be part of my data governance program. They work hand in glove. So that's what I want. All right. I just blew up that slide so that you can print it in your office and have it hanging up. By the way, where you want to sign up for the webinar, I think Elizabeth's going to put in the chat. We keep um, downloads of my decks in there, so you can always get these. All right. Number two, establish data quality metrics and KPIs. Spend a little more time on this one. I get asked this question all the time. Hey, Before executing your data quality rules, you have to define the metrics and KPIs that you're going to measure before you start fixing data. And this is like, whoever gave me the heart, you know how critical this is. My heart has been broken when I have gone into organization. They said, "Hey, Dr. Marco, we have this data quality program, and we've been doing this for years, and we need metrics and KPIs." And I'll ask them, "Did you take a baseline measurement?" And they're like, nope." "Did you define your KPIs?" "Nope." "Well, we're going to do the best we can, but unfortunately, I don't have a time machine. I don't have a TARDIS for you Doctor Who fans. Um, you know, I can't go back in history and change what we've done." I think we have at least one Doctor Who fan here. You're my kind of person. Anyway, I can't do that. We need to define them ahead of time. So and when I define these, keep in mind, we always love the quantitative. When I say quantitative KPI or metric, think quantity. You can count it one, two, three, four. There's a number. A quantitative metric or KPI is something we can count and measure. However, they are not the only valuable thing. Qualitative is equally valuable. What's qualitative? Think of it as quality. It's something nebulous. Surveying opinions is a classic way to get qualitative. If I want to ask, let's suppose you use our application to manage fulfillment for your manufacturing company, and you're one of 20 fulfillment specialists within the organization. I might, after we fix the quality errors and make some changes to the screens, I may do a survey to all of you. "Hey, did this make your task easier? Did it simplify it?" Rate it. 5, yes, so much. 4, yes, somewhat. 3, nope, same. 4, or 2, yeah, you made it worse. And 1, you made it horrific. That's a qualitative measurement. All right. Don't, again, always take a baseline. All right. Here, just what do I have here? About a dozen sample ones. So one of the common ones I'll do, how many business terms have been standardized? That is a precise definition, precise and valid values. I've done webinars before on this, and we'll be doing them again. What's a precise definition for customer type? It's not customer type is a type of customer. That's a circular definition, a tautology, if you will, and that stinks. It's kind of like saying, what's a cheeseburger? It is a burger with cheese. The definition tells you nothing more than the name does, and that is a problem. So we want a good definition that's clear and concise, that does not have other embedded definitions. I have a whole webinar on this topic. We'll reference it at some point. Also, keep in mind valid values. Not everything can have a valid value. You may have a business term of buyer first name. Well, there's a lot of first names in the world, so probably that's not the best one. So we would have to do something different for that. You can't have a valid value set for first name. However, maybe you have to pull them from a master record. That could be your valid value set. How many business terms has a system of record attached to them? What's a system of record? It means think master data management. This is the system that is responsible, that is the golden record for this business term, whatever it may be. Many times it's your general ledger system. What percentage of data elements are we actively monitoring? Oh, wait a minute. Notice the change in terms. I said business term. It's a general concept like customer type. There may be what's a data element? Data elements, think columns in a table, fields in a file. Sorry, we still have a lot of file-based applications out there. Data elements are the column names and or the field names which represent the business term. And there'll be a lot of them. So what percentage of these are we actively monitoring? Meaning we're measuring the quality of data in them. That's actively monitoring. Next one. What percentage of data elements conform to the enterprise data standard? That's a big one because a lot of our applications built different data elements. I don't know if we have anybody from the insurance world, but my goodness, you guys have some of the most fascinating data that I've ever had to deal with. Where in the early days of insurance companies, especially in the US, there were different rules for different states, and there still are. So what happens is there would be some organizations that built different applications by state. So incident type, insurance type, accident type would differ by state. So you can't do any kind of enterprise analysis. So you certainly want to harmonize your data across something like that. What percentage of row and data combinations contain a defect? That's important. And what are the defect categories? Hey, if you're saying, Dr. Marco, what do you mean by defect categories? Well, you're just going to have to wait until our third presentation on this, because I will go through a whole system of defect categories that I start with. I'm using them again right now at a client partner. And then I can go on and on. I want to highlight a couple more. What the second from the bottom? How much personally identifiable information is not secured? This is a biggie. This is a biggie. I had a client partner. We had implemented a data governance tool that did full metadata management and really 80% of what you do in data quality. And I remember speaking to their head of security for their data. He's in charge of PII. And when I say that, he wasn't a CISO, he's just really a developer. And he says, "Oh, our PII is very highly controlled." I go, "Okay, how do you define PII?" He goes, I don't know. I said, "Well, can you hand me a list of what you've identified as PII?" He goes, we don't have that." So when I get those answers, I already know PII is a disaster. But this one was really fascinating. So we're scanning just their Microsoft environments and their ERP system. That's all we're doing. We found, if you look at the PII in the ERP system, we found 8 times, 8 times, 800% more PII that is just thrown across their database environment. It's sitting in people's personal databases. Boy, that's not an issue. That's not a regulatory violation waiting to happen. It's sitting in these customized little apps. Nobody even knows if they're using it. 8 times data redundancy in PII. That is a disaster. Anyway, the dozen or so that I shared here is a small sample. There are dozens more, but this is a great starting point for your KPIs. All right, next, identifying key stakeholders. This is critical. You want to identify, so we want to start small. We can't go in and fix every system in your environment in year one. So as you start your data quality program, it's doubtful. Basically, it's impossible to do this, to implement data quality on all your enterprise systems in 1 year. Not possible. It's going to take you, I would say, if you really do it right, you're going to hit that point at about year three. At the end of year three, you should have 80% of your big boys, if not more, covered with your data governance program or data quality program. Anyway, you want to first identify who are the application owners for your key applications. Managing small little rinky-dink stuff, that's great to do down the road. But initially, you need to identify 1 to 4 critical applications. And here's what I want to know. Number one, is the application critical to your organization? Is it one that's high visibility, vital? That's what we want to fix, because the last thing you want to do is put in all this effort into data quality and like, wow, you have some great KPIs, but you didn't really help the organization. Go after the biggies. Number two, I need application owners that are highly motivated to improve their data quality. If the application owner is not motivated, they're going to make your life miserable. They'll fight you every step of the way, and you're not going to have success. I want ones that really want to partner, that want to work together to make this successful. Number three, I want an application that has common technology. IBM, DB2, I put IMS. I need to update that. Sorry. Oracle. classic technology. Third-party vendors that a lot of people have, the Workdays, the SAPs, ubiquitous technology. Because when you have arcane stuff, when you have old stuff, a lot of the technology that we want to leverage in our data quality program, we may not be able to do it. And then we have to do it manually, which is extremely time consuming and difficult. Number four, and this is in that same vein, be careful of closed third party or outsourced applications. Closed meaning you don't get to see the underlying database structures, the APIs don't work well. Don't trust these vendors and say, our APIs are fantastic. Let me tell you, I've had to spend much of my adult life working in APIs since the advent of cloud. And these APIs are not that easy. Some are better built than others. Make sure you know that you can get to the data you need. So these are just some key concepts of how to pick the key data quality stakeholders and the applications you want to partner with. Use this. All right, data ownership. Next topic I want to get into. Clear data ownership. The actual owner of your data can be a tricky question because there is a difference between legal ownership, meaning if somebody sues your company because you had a data breach, who's behind is on the line, but also internal data ownership. In some industries, and again, the legal definition is something that a lawyer would be able to define better than I because it does differ by industry. In some cases, the chief executive officer is legally responsible for the data. Well, that person is not going to be the one internally enforcing the data quality standards and making sure the data is right. They're not. So we want to take a look legally who's responsible, but then internally, who's the person or persons who know this data and work with it day to day. That's who we want. Normally, data ownership is going to differ between data elements and business terms. Many times, we recommend, and this just depends on the client partner I'm working with. Many times, I'll recommend that a data steward be assigned to a business term. And they will be responsible for ensuring that that business term conforms across the enterprise. Um, so again, think of this data steward as being a data owner. You could call it a business term owner. I have a client partner right now. They call them data trustees. You're all saying the same thing. I don't care which term you use. I'm happy with them all. Um, Whoever works with the data elements at an application level is the data owner for that from a data element perspective. So whoever works with those applications, we want to make sure they work with the business term owner, they understand what the standard is, and that they work to get their application to conform to that standard. Think of it like this, our last bullet. Within an application, the data element owners enforce the policies of the data owner. That's how it works. Is the data steward the same person as the data owner? No, they're not. These are different roles, but they could be the same person. That happens. Again, data owners decide, data stewards and data element owners enforce. So hopefully this little chart here, this little graphic, just summarizes how I normally recommend this to work. So that's ownership. All right. Whew, we've gone through a lot. I'm going to spend maybe 5 to 7 more minutes on a couple one-off topics on people. If you have questions for me that you want me to answer live, put them in the Q&A. Elizabeth's watching, and I trust me, she's watching like a hawk. Put them in there, um, and I will be happy to answer them. She's going to come back when I get to the end and give me your questions. So, people best practices. First, it's vital that you ensure your data quality management team has experience in data quality management projects. I'm shocked how many times I'll work with an organization. Here's our DQM team, and nobody's ever gone through the process. It's hard and it's different. You need people trained in this. If you don't have that knowledge, but yet you're a scientist, get some training. Again, Elizabeth shared that we have a brand new at Data Management University training portal called datamanagementtraining.com. Pretty simple, datamanagementtraining.com. We have courses on data quality and data governance. you'll have a lot of value in there to help bridge your gap. Keep in mind, a lot of data quality management is communications, a ton of it. If only it was as simple. So in my early days of development, when I used to be a coder, it was great. I could just go into the database, change stuff, wave my magic SQL wand, and do anything I liked. Well, those days are gone. Not for enterprise applications. You have to communicate with people because the data that you are fixing within that application, there might be 10, 20, 30, 40 downstream systems using that data. So when you change it, before you change it, let me turn back the clock again, back in the TARDIS to hit a theme. We're going to change, we need to inform them that these changes are coming. If we're going to change customer type A to be customer type 1, we need to let people know that so that they realize what's happening before we change it. That's a lot of communication. Start with the low-hanging fruit to ease your team into data quality management. So again, I have a large federal client today that I have the pleasure of working with. And in working with the CDO, the first thing her and I talked about was how do we target an application that really wants to work with us, that's motivated. And she's one of the best CDOs I've worked with. She's like, oh, David, I know the application. And sure enough, they've been great to work with. That's what you want to do. And we're targeting data that isn't being used downstream because we're starting small, getting our lessons learned. Because once data is flying out of those systems downstream, it's much more complicated. You have to work with all those groups. All right. I hope this was helpful. Let me wrap this up and then bring my hostess back. In the final analysis, remember, we need to fix data at its source. If we're not fixing it at its source, that 110-100 rule, you're just putting your fingers in a boat that is sinking, and you don't want that. Number two, metadata management and data governance are foundational components of a data quality management program. You write this down. You cannot do enterprise data quality without enterprise metadata management and enterprise data governance. Period. Stop. End of paragraph. Vital. Number three, data quality management. It takes time. You're not going to just go in there unless you're at a small organization. But if you're at a global 2000 or big federal agency, it's going to take time. Be methodical. If you do this, if you follow the teachings of this course and the next couple we're going to do, you are going to achieve amazing results with your program. And then last but not least, EW Solutions, we do these projects. If you need help, you can email me directly or go to info@ewsolutions.com. Elizabeth, give me the hard questions. Give me the curveballs that are designed to stump the expert. I'm ready.
All right, fantastic. Well, David, thank you so much for such a great presentation. That was fantastic. We have one question from Barry Goldstein, and Barry is asking, sometimes people do not want to admit that there are data quality issues, and because they are defensive about that. What suggestions do you have for working with people like that?
What a great question. And Barry, I'm curious if you're the Barry I worked with many years ago at Panasonic. If you are, it was a joy working with you. Just I know that name. And he was awesome to work with. Anyway, um, great question. How do you get them to admit it? The key thing is, remember I mentioned all that communication, that back and forth conversation. You need to spend a lot of time asking questions and listening, not talking as much. That's critical because you never want them to feel defensive. The last thing you want to do is go to an application and say, hey, your data sucks and you caused all these problems. What are they going to think? My job's on the line. That's not going to be effective. What you want to do is say, hey, your application is critical to our company, to our agency, and we really want to work with you to make this better and work together to bring it. So no, what's the word I'm searching for? No aggressive language. If they feel defensive, say, hey, I don't care how we got here. I have said this to application owners. I understand the world you live in. I understand people are demanding changes in a week that should take 3 months to do, and you're slapping it together, and those little bandages always leak. You always leak blood, and that's your data quality errors. I've heard companies say, oh, don't worry about it. We'll go back later and fix it. We'll just do a quick change now, go back. They never do. Where's my emoji response? For all you developers there, you know you've experienced this. Nobody goes back and fixes those until we are hemorrhaging. I know you have experienced this. So to Barry, what I would do is say, hey, I get what you've dealt with. If they show you defensiveness, I understand it. I get it, and it wasn't fair, but I'm here and I want to work with you to make it right now. We're not going to go back and adjudicate the sins of the past. It's all about providing grace for the future, and that's what I would do. So again, it's that Barry, it's TLC, tender loving care. That'll be the critical point for this one. Great question. You could tell that's one that is dear to my heart. I've experienced it. Boy, a different person, Barry. That's okay. Spelled the same way. I'm sure you're every bit as awesome as that, Barry, by the way. Um, but great. What a great question.
Awesome. That's our questions for today. Unless anybody else has any other questions you want to sneak in before the end here.
Hey, feel free. I'm looking.
Oh, we
I'm
got another
around.
one. Hang on.
Hit me with it. Come on.
All
That
right,
was
all right, here's
important.
one.
Bring
Um,
it.
may ask many privacy legislation also address PI private information. When should these be addressed concurrently with PI or afterwards?
Oh goodness, you have to do it with PII. So again, personally, May asked gosh, a great question. We all deal with this as data quality professionals. PII, you need to fix. So first off, let me take a step back. I'm going to since we have a few minutes, I'm going to spend a little more time on this answer because it's applicable to anybody doing data quality. When you look at the regulations, let me take the most popular ones. GDPR, which I referenced, CCPA, the California Consumer Protection or Customer Privacy, sorry. Um, these are the two most famous. Why? Why are they're really the most infamous? Because when you look at the penalties that companies can occur from GDPR or CCPA, there's teeth in them. You can have big fines. There have been fines in the millions and millions of dollars for violating them. So you'd say, oh, PII, we can just do that. Well, guess what? GDPR's definition for PII differs from CCPA. And neither one of them give precise, like, here are the 30 business terms which are PII. Neither does it. They give examples. Let me give you an idea of how they differ. CCPA, when it was updated a couple years ago in November, if you look at their definition, you could expand PII to include the ID you use to log into a video game.
Hmm.
If that's a customer of yours, which is I think, far too broad of a definition. It was basically anything that identifies a person individually, which a video game login does. Your Microsoft login, if you use Microsoft, your Apple, and your Amazon, that becomes far more complicated to deal with. So first off, you need to have your privacy attorneys work with you to define exactly what PII is legally. And this is tricky because a bad privacy attorney will try to make your organization bulletproof. By making it bulletproof, it will be so darn hard to implement that you won't be able to do a darn thing, making you very susceptible to risk. You need to have some definitions that are implementable and understandable. That's what we need. We need to be able to do it where certain people get data privacy training. They get taught what PII is and what it isn't. We need people to get that kind of training if they're using it. So for example, in the work that I do in metadata management and data governance and data quality, I am a person who will get authority to look at PII. Why? Because my team is going to be responsible for ensuring we're not projecting this all over the organization. So we need to be able to check that and double check it, or we can't do our job. So working with them first, May, what is going to be our definition for PII and defining it precisely. It will 100% be first name, last name, address. Anything with an address that's specific is identifying PII. City alone does not. The fact that I grew up in Chicago does not, I would bet there's another Chicago somewhere in the United States. We all know what the real Chicago is, but that doesn't tell you my street address. Not at all. So those are the kind of things you want to be precise with. Work with them to get a definition for your organization. Maybe you're not an international organization. GDPR doesn't mean much to you, but maybe you work across the US. So there's about 14 states that have data privacy regulations. I cannot quote them all, but you look at them, have your attorneys look at them, create something intelligent. You're going to need to work with your attorneys because they're not going to have the technical knowledge. Awesome question. Elizabeth, the look on your face almost told me maybe we have another question.
We've got one more. Does data
Perfect.
from Martin Bareth, does data security contribute to data quality? Perhaps the access permissions and metadata for persons and other applications?
Martin, what a great question. This is why your question, the answer is yes. And your question is why data quality management is getting more traction than it has before. I have a company right now we're getting ready to start a big project for. You know who our sponsor is? The CISO. And she is concerned primarily with privacy. She wants to know that our data governance program will really take data quality seriously, will identify the PII, identify the PHI, and make sure it is secured and they're not going to have problems, which that's what's driving this. If it wasn't for hearing people ask about data quality, we would not have chosen this topic to kick off our webinar series again. I've done something different with Elizabeth. Instead, we are targeting data quality because this is really picking up. That chief security, that CI, chief information security officer, that role is growing at companies very fast. And so, yes, you want to work with those people. You want to be hand in hand with them and implement things that make their life better and easier. They should really be part of your team and foster that because that's what's going to make it sensational. Great questions. My goodness.
Awesome. Thank you for these good questions. Anyone else? I think we've got time for one more if we've got one more question.
That's right. And in the chat, I gave everybody um, a link to my LinkedIn. Follow me because you'll know about all these different webinars and more. And thank you for that emoji. You know what? Emojis to all of you. I would have to find my emoji button here. I think I have it. Thank you so much. You guys were absolutely sensational. Thank you for everybody who joined us. Elizabeth and I are going to be your tag team on this for a while. So
Yeah,
get used to us.
a lot of
Elizabeth,
exciting
anything else?
topics coming. Very, very exciting.
And don't forget, this is streaming to the YouTube.
Yeah.
Thank you, Fatima. Thank you so much. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. You guys were an amazing audience. Streaming to our YouTube.